All right, so grab a seat, get comfortable, and maybe check your rearview mirror. Because today we are cracking open a file that on the surface, it looks like just another hour of television.
Right.
But if you actually stop and scratch that surface, if you really peel back the layers, you find the absolute pivot point of an entire season. So today we are doing a deep dive into Breaking Bad, specifically Season 4, Episode 5. The title is Shotgun.
Shotgun. Yeah, it is a title that feels deceptively simple, doesn't it?
Oh, completely.
Just one word. But in the universe of Vince Gilligan and his writing room, nothing is ever just one thing. That single word is doing a tremendous amount of heavy lifting right out of the gate.
It really is, because when you hear that word, especially in a high-stakes crime drama like this one, your brain immediately goes to two very specific, very different places.
Exactly.
First, obviously, you think of the weapon, the pump action, the violence of it all. This is a show about the drug trade, after all. You expect barrels and buckshot.
Right. It implies a very specific kind of threat. It implies kinetic energy. But the second meaning, and I would argue the more important meaning for this specific hour of television, it frames the entire narrative structure.
The passenger seat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Riding shotgun, sitting in the passenger seat, being the one who, importantly, isn't driving.
That duality, the weapon versus the passenger seat, the violence versus the passivity, is essentially the roadmap for this entire deep dive today. We've got a massive stack of notes here based on a really detailed Wikipedia entry.
Lots of ground to cover.
Yeah, covering the plot, the production details, the behind-the-scenes context, and the critical reception. Let me tell you, that reception part, it is way more controversial than I remembered.
It is a surprisingly divisive episode in the canon. But before we get to the critics and the controversy, and before we analyze why some people loved it and some people were just kind of lukewarm on it, we need to set the stage properly.
Let's do it.
So this episode aired on August 14th, 2011. It was written by Thomas Schnauz, who is, a key architect of this whole universe. And it was directed by Michelle MacLaren.
Oh, and we have to pause on Michelle MacLaren for a second.
We have to.
If you follow Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul, or frankly, just great television in general, you know that name. She is a titan.
Absolutely legendary. She's known for this incredible visual flair. She doesn't just film two people talking in a room. She films landscapes. She films the silence. She films the tension hanging in the air.
Yeah.
She brings a very cinematic, almost Western sensibility to the show. And we should also mention the cinematography by Nelson Craig.
Yes, Nelson Craig.
He really captured that Western feel, the way he and MacLaren used the camera here.
Man, does it show in this one. Because this isn't some bottle episode stuck inside the fluorescent-lit super lab.
Not at all.
This is wide open spaces. It's basically a road movie compressed into 47 minutes. It's dusty, it's bright, and it just feels big.
It does. It's the 38th overall episode of the series, and our mission today is to explore how this specific block of television fundamentally shifts the power dynamics for our two main characters.
Jesse Pinkman and Walter White.
Right. It's really a tale of two egos, isn't it? Or maybe one ego inflating dangerously and another ego that just, snaps.
That is a perfect way to put it. We are looking at a manufactured hero moment for one character and a catastrophic, completely self-inflicted wound for the other.
A self-inflicted wound that changes everything.
Exactly. It's about the rise of the student and the fall, or rather the massive stumble of the master.
So let's not waste any time. Let's jump right into the first major thread of this episode. The ride-along.
The ride-along. This is the storyline that really drives the action, and it starts with panic. Pure, unadulterated, heart-pounding panic from Walter White.
Right. The episode opens, and Walt is in his car, that iconic Pontiac Aztek, and he is just tearing down the road.
Weaving through traffic.
Ignoring lanes, completely reckless. He's got that revolver, that snub-nosed .38 sitting right there on the passenger seat. He is racing to Los Polos Hermanos, and he is terrified.
And why is he terrified?
Yeah.
Because Jesse is missing.
Context is key here for anyone jumping back in. You have to remember exactly where we are in the season. We are in the heat of the Cold War between Walt and Gus Fring.
Right. Victor has been killed.
The box cutter incident is still incredibly fresh in everyone's mind. Tensions are at an all-time high, so Walt thinks the absolute worst. In his mind, Jesse has been, to use the mob euphemism, taken care of.
By Gus.
Correct. Walt is convinced that Gus has finally had enough of Jesse's instability. Because remember, Jesse has been spiraling.
Oh, totally. Throwing money at those endless parties looking like a massive liability.
Exactly. So Walt thinks Gus has removed him from the equation entirely. So Walt is storming into the chicken restaurant and demanding to see the boss, thinking he's walking into a hostage negotiation or maybe even a murder investigation.
He thinks he's walking into a war zone. Like, he thinks this is the Alamo. But the reality is completely different.
Completely. And this is where the show just loves to subvert our expectations. Walt bursts in, but he gets a phone call. It's Mike Ehrmantraut.
The contrast here is just beautiful.
It's amazing. Walt is hyperventilating, he's sweating, ready to shoot someone in a family restaurant. And Mike sounds like he's bored. He sounds like he's doing his taxes.
Mike is essentially the anti-Walt in this situation.
Yeah.
He is the temperature regulator of the show.
He really is. He tells Walt, effectively, calm down. Jesse is with me. He's fine. Go back to work.
Go back to work.
He treats Walt's life or death panic like it's a minor scheduling annoyance.
Which has to be the most confusing thing Walt could possibly hear in that exact moment.
Yeah.
I mean, he's geared up for a shootout, adrenaline is spiking, fight or flight is fully engaged, and he's told it's just a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Go back to work.
And that kicks off our A-plot. Mike and Jesse out on the road.
The odd couple, to end all odd couples. I mean, you have Mike, the stoic, silent professional, the guy who values silence above almost everything else. Yeah. And you have Jesse, who is, well, he's just...
He's noise.
He's fidgeting. He's chaos.
Truly. Mike is driving. Jesse is in the passenger seat riding shotgun, so there's the title again. And they are driving all over the desolate highways of New Mexico. The Wikipedia source mentions they hit 7 isolated dead drops.
7. That is a really long day in a car with someone who hates you. Or at least someone who looks like they hate you.
It's an eternity. And Michelle McLaren, she films it exactly that way. We get these wide shots from Nelson Crag of the desert. The car is just a tiny speck on the road. It heavily emphasizes the isolation.
Let's unpack the mechanics of this for a second because it's really fascinating world building. They aren't selling drugs. They aren't cooking. What are they actually doing at these dead drops?
They are collecting money. See, in an operation the size of Gus Fring's empire, you don't have dealers bringing cash directly to the boss.
That's way too risky.
Yeah, too many points of contact, yeah. Too many chances for the DEA or local cops to be doing surveillance. Instead, the lower-level guys leave the cash in hidden spots.
Like under a rock.
Right, under a specific rock, inside a rusted pipe, maybe buried in the sand near a certain mile marker. These are the pickup spots.
It's the completely unglamorous side of the drug empire. It's just logistics. It's essentially a grim cartel version of a scavenger hunt.
Exactly. It's just driving out to the middle of nowhere, picking up a duffel bag, throwing it in the trunk, and driving to the next spot. It's tedious, it's repetitive, it's boring. And that boredom is a really crucial part of the storytelling here.
Right, because the dynamic inside that car is just painful to watch. Jesse is completely confused. He's sitting there probably vibrating with anxiety, trying to figure out what his role is.
He wants to know why she's there.
He assumes, naturally, that he's there as muscle. He thinks this is a promotion, or at least a very specific, dangerous mission.
Right. He thinks he's the bodyguard. He desperately wants to define his utility. He asks Mike, "I'm here to watch your back, right?" He's trying to find some shred of dignity in the situation. He wants to be the guy who is needed.
And Mike.
Mike is having absolutely none of it. He destroys that idea immediately. He's frustrated. He's annoyed. He repeatedly denies that Jesse is there for protection.
He shuts him down.
Hard. In fact, Mike seems genuinely angry that he has to babysit him at all. He explicitly tells Jesse he doesn't even know why he was asked to bring him along.
Which is super interesting, right? Because Mike is usually the guy who knows everything.
He's the guy with the plan.
If Mike doesn't know the plan, that means the orders came from the very top, from Gus.
Exactly. And Mike hates flying blind. So you have this incredibly tense silence. Mike driving, staring at the road, probably wishing he was anywhere else on Earth.
And Jesse just trying to be useful.
Yeah. Trying to read the map or look out the window for tails and getting shut down every single time. It's a long, boring day of pickups. The silence is weaponized against Jesse. It makes him feel incredibly small.
Until they get to the final drop, the boredom finally breaks.
The climax of the road trip, the incident.
So they pull up to this industrial area, very secluded. It looks like an abandoned warehouse district. Mike gets out of the car to grab the cash or check the spot. Now, pay attention to the details here. He leaves the keys in the ignition, and he leaves Jesse alone in the vehicle.
And this is where the tension just snaps. Jesse's waiting, he's bored, he's looking around, and then he spots something in the side mirror. Another car pulls up behind them. 2 men get out.
And this isn't a friendly, excuse me, do you have the time kind of approach. These guys look like serious trouble.
No, they don't look friendly at all. One of them is armed with a shotgun.
There it is again, the title. It's literal now.
Yes. The threat is immediate, and it looks lethal. Jesse is boxed in. He's alone. Mike is nowhere to be seen. Now think about Jesse Pinkman for a second. Think about where his head has been at lately.
It's been a dark place.
He's been traumatized. He's been beaten. He murdered Gale. He's been living in a house full of junkies just to avoid the silence. Most people in this situation, they freeze, they panic, or they put their hands up and beg for mercy.
But not Jesse Pinkman, not today.
Not today. Jesse reacts on pure, unfiltered instinct. It's fight or flight, and he chooses a third option. He sees the guy approaching with the shotgun. He doesn't go for a weapon. He doesn't even have one. He uses the only tool available to him.
The car.
He uses the car, he slams it into reverse.
And he doesn't just back up to run away. He turns the car into a literal battering ram.
He rams the attacker's vehicle. He smashes into them hard. It knocks the attackers completely off balance. It creates chaos, metal crunching, glass breaking.
Yeah.
And in that split second of confusion, while the gunman is stumbling, Jesse floors it. He drifts around the wreck, which is a great piece of stunt driving, by the way, and he escapes. He leaves the attackers in the dust.
It's a pure adrenaline moment.
Yeah.
It's straight out of an action movie. Jesse, the guy who has been feeling so useless, the guy who has been sidelined and treated like this junkie liability all season, suddenly takes control of the situation and saves the day, or at least saves the money.
And this is such a crucial character beat. He loops back around.
He goes back for Mike.
Right. He could have just kept driving. He could have stolen the money in the trunk and run away to Mexico. But he returns, and this interaction when he gets back is so important. Mike sees what happened. He sees the damage to the other car. He sees Jesse, adrenaline pumping, shaking, eyes wide, explaining how he fought them off. I got him, Mike. I got him.
And Mike's reaction. Because Mike Ehrmantraut doesn't do high fives. He doesn't do, hey, good job, buddy.
No, he really doesn't. It's incredibly subtle. But there's a hint, just a tiny hint of him being impressed. He nods. He acknowledges that Jesse handled himself. He says something along the lines of, you did good, kid. Or at least the subtext of that is definitely there.
For Jesse, that nod is everything. It's oxygen. He went from being the useless junkie to the guy who saved the operation. He feels like a hero. He feels competent. He feels like he actually matters.
And that is exactly the point. Because here is where we have to drop the hammer. Here is the twist from the source that redefines the entire episode and really Jesse's entire arc for this season.
Let's hit it.
It was all a lie.
Every single bit of it.
The Wikipedia entry clarifies this later in the episode analysis. It is revealed that Gus Fring staged the entire robbery.
So the guys with the shotgun, they weren't cartel hitmen. They weren't rival dealers trying to steal the cash.
Actors. Or at least trusted employees who were already on Gus's payroll.
The threat.
Completely non-existent. They were never going to shoot him. The gun was probably loaded with blanks, if it was even loaded at all.
And Mike, leaving Jesse alone at that exact moment, leaving the keys in the ignition. That wasn't a mistake. Mike Ehrmantraut does not make mistakes like that.
Highly calculated.
Yeah.
It was a setup, a test. But not just a test, it was a nudge.
That is, I mean, it's diabolical, but it's masterful.
It is a psychological operation, a psyop. Gus Fring looked at Jesse Pinkman and saw a liability. Jesse was spiraling. He was partying. He was reckless. He was deeply depressed. Most drug lords, the Tuco Salamancas of the world, they would just kill a guy like that. Remove the problem.
Right. He's a junkie. Put a bullet in him and find a new assistant.
But Gus is different. Gus sees an asset that is simply malfunctioning. He realizes Jesse's problem isn't that he's a bad criminal. It's that he has absolutely no self-worth. He has no purpose. He's acting out because he hates himself for what he did to Gale.
The source notes the motivation here was specifically to increase Jesse's low self-esteem.
That's the key right there. A confident Jesse is a useful Jesse. A Jesse who feels like he's part of the team, who feels like he has real value, is a Jesse who won't flip to the cops and won't overdose. It wasn't a security threat at all. It was a loyalty play.
It's brilliant management in a very twisted criminal sort of way. It's almost corporate. It's an employee retention strategy.
Yes.
Gus identified that Jesse's biggest weakness was his lack of purpose. So he gave him a purpose. He gave him a win.
And it worked beautifully. Jesse buys it hook, line, and sinker. He walks away from that car feeling 10 feet tall. He isn't the victim anymore. He's the protector.
And even Mike, who claimed he didn't know the plan earlier, he starts to see the logic. He realizes that Gus is playing 4D chess while everyone else is playing checkers. Mike respects the strategy. He might not like babysitting, but he respects the play.
And it creates a wedge, doesn't it? It pulls Jesse closer to Gus and to Mike, and inevitably it pulls him further away from Walt. Jesse now has a secret success that Walt has absolutely nothing to do with.
Speaking of Walt, so Jesse ends the day feeling like Superman. Meanwhile, let's check in on Clark Kent. Or, I guess, maybe Lex Luthor is more accurate. Let's talk about Walt's day.
Yes. While Jesse is having this manufactured hero's journey out on the highway, Walt is having a very different kind of day on the domestic front.
Wow.
And we have to go back to that opening panic to understand it.
Right. When Walt thought Jesse was dead, and he thought Gus was coming for him next, he did something incredibly drastic before he went storming into Los Pollos Hermanos.
They left a voicemail.
A voicemail for Skyler.
And this wasn't a, hey, honey, can you pick up some milk kind of voicemail. This was an, I might not be coming home ever again voicemail.
Yeah, it was dark.
He says he loves her. He says he loves the kids. It has the distinct tone of a deathbed confession. It's a man facing a firing squad.
Because he genuinely thought he was about to walk into a buzzsaw. He thought it was all over.
Exactly. But as we know, he didn't die. He's fine. He's back at the lab. But the voicemail is still out there. It's digitally preserved on her phone.
And Skyler hears it.
She does. And this triggers a really fascinating shift in their relationship dynamic. Skyler listens to this message, and she doesn't hear a monster. She hears the fear. She hears the vulnerability in his voice.
You'd think hearing that your drug-dealing husband is in mortal danger would make you run for the hills. You'd think she'd pack the bags, grab the kids, and go straight to the police.
You really would think that. But oddly enough, it seems to soften her toward him. It humanizes him. It reminds her of the stakes and perhaps reminds her that he is doing this in his own twisted way for them.
It's also a big day for them financially, right? We can't overlook the business side of this episode. This is a landmark moment for the White family enterprise.
Huge. This is the episode where they officially purchased the car wash.
The A1A car wash.
The exact same one Walt used to work at back in the pilot episode. The place where he was humiliated. The place where he had to wipe down the tires of his own high school students' cars while they laughed at him. It's the ultimate symbol of his previous life of mediocrity and submission.
And now they own it. They bought it from Bogdan. They took the keys. It's officially the front for their massive money laundering scheme.
So they have the business. They are partners in crime now, literally on paper. Skyler hears the emotional voicemail, and things get, well, they get intimate.
They do. The source notes that the two have sex. It signals a potential reconciliation for the couple. For a moment, it looks like the White family might actually be coming back together. It's the first time in a very long time we've seen them connect on that level.
Skyler even makes the offer.
The big one. She suggests Walter move back into the house.
Think about that for a second. This is what Walt has ostensibly wanted for seasons, right?
That's all he's talked about.
He's been sleeping in his own depressing condo. He's been fighting tooth and nail to get back under that roof. He broke into his own house at one point just to prove a point to her. He pizza-tossed his way onto the roof out of sheer frustration. And now Skyler opens the door wide. She says, essentially, come home.
And this is where the character work from the writers is just sublime. Because Walt, he doesn't say yes.
He doesn't say anything.
He is totally distracted. He is non-committal. He leaves for the lab without even giving her an answer. Why? This is his victory. This is what he's been fighting for.
Because he's consumed. He's completely consumed by the danger at work. He's consumed by the fact that he doesn't know where Jesse is. He's consumed by Gus Fring. He realizes that just as he gets his family back, the danger to his own life is at its absolute peak.
It's classic tragedy. He can't enjoy the victory because the war's still raging.
Yeah.
He realizes that moving back in right now puts them directly in the crosshairs.
And it gets worse for him. Later in the episode, Walt Jr. comes to him, and Jr. is super excited. He tells Walt that Skyler has already set a move-in date. Mom says you're coming home Tuesday.
So the decision has essentially been made for him.
And the source notes that this unnerves Walt. He doesn't look happy. He looks trapped. He's realized that bringing his danger back into that house might be a terrible, terrible mistake, but he's too far down the road to stop it now. He's boxed in by his own success.
It's a pressure cooker. You have Jesse rising up, fueled by a total lie. You have Walt sinking down, crushed by the truth of his situation.
And all of that pressure has to go somewhere eventually. Walt is a boiler about to burst. And in this episode, the release valve isn't an explosion or a gunshot. It happens at a dinner party.
Oh boy. The dinner party. This is segment 3 of our deep dive. And folks, this is the scene. If you remember one thing from the episode Shotgun.
Yeah.
It's probably this conversation. This is the moment where you were just screaming at the TV.
It's a masterclass in hubris. It is the dictionary definition of ego. It is the exact moment Walter White defeats himself.
So set the scene for us.
Hank and Marie Schrader's house, dinner, the wine is flowing. It's supposed to be a nice, relaxing evening. The families are back together celebrating.
And Walt is described in the outline as brooding. He's pouring heavy glasses of wine. He's getting increasingly tipsy.
Which is never, ever a good combination for Walter White. When Walt drinks, the filter drops off. Heisenberg starts to peek out from behind the curtain.
Now, we have to look at Hank's state of mind here. Hank Schrader has been obsessed with the Heisenberg case. It nearly killed him. It paralyzed him. He's been bedridden, collecting minerals, not rocks, and driving Marie completely crazy. But in this episode, Hank is finding closure.
He's done. He is officially giving up the pursuit. Why? Because he believes the case is solved. He believes Gale, the chemist who was killed at the end of the previous season, was Heisenberg.
In Hank's mind, the bad guy is dead. The genius behind the blue meth is gone. He's ready to move on with his life. He's even showing Walt the lab notes they found at Gale's apartment.
And he's praising Gale. He's sitting there at the dinner table talking about Gale's lab notes, the poetry, the intricate drawings, and he calls Gale a genius. He says, "This genius of yours."
Yeah.
Maybe he's still out there. Wait, no, sorry. He says he was a genius. Plain and simple.
Genius, that word. It lands on Walt like a physical slap to the face. It burns him.
It's the trigger. You have to remember, Walt's entire motivation beneath the money, beneath the providing for the family excuse, is recognition. It's pride. He was cheated out of his legacy at gray matter. He was reduced to a high school teacher. He is the genius. He is the artist.
And here is his brother-in-law, the lead DEA agent on the case, giving the credit for Walt's life's work to some copycat who is dead. To Gale, who Walt considered to be an inferior assistant, a glorified lab tech.
It is the ultimate insult to Walt's ego, even though, and this is critical, we cannot stress this enough, Hank believing Gale is Heisenberg is the best possible outcome for Walt.
Exactly. It's the perfect cover. It is the golden ticket. If Hank thinks the guy is dead, Walt is perfectly safe. The investigation stops. The DEA budget for the case goes to zero. He can cook in peace. He can launder his money at the car wash with Skyler. He wins the game. He gets away with it.
All he has to do is nod. All he has to do is sip his wine, cut his steak, and say, wow, sounds like a really smart guy. Pass the potatoes.
But he can't do it.
He physically cannot do it. The ego snap happens right there. Walt puts down his wine glass. The sound of the glass hitting the table is almost deafening in the silence of that room. He looks at Hank, and he speaks up.
And what did he say?
He insists that Gale was not a genius. He looks at the notes Hank has, and he totally dismisses them. He says, this isn't the work of a genius. This is rote copying. He points out the handwriting. He essentially tells the DEA agent, you haven't caught the guy yet. The real genius is still out there.
Maybe he's still out there. It is absolute madness. It is self-sabotage on a Shakespearean level. It's Icarus flying directly into the sun just because he wants everyone on the ground to know he can fly.
It is. And the consequence of that statement is immediate.
Hank pauses. The whole table goes quiet. He listens. And you can visibly see the gears turning in Hank's head. Walt's comment plants a massive seed of doubt.
Because Hank respects Walt's intellect. He thinks Walt is just a mild-mannered chemistry teacher, sure, but a brilliant one. If Walt says this guy was a copycat, maybe he missed something. So later that night, Hank decides to take another look at the files.
So he goes back to the evidence boxes. He's flipping through photos of Gale's apartment. And what does he find?
The clue. The smoking gun. Or, in this specific case, the smoking napkin.
A napkin?
Yeah.
It seems so incredibly trivial.
Upon reviewing the case files, Hank spots a detail he missed before. Among the photos of Gale's possessions, there is a shot of a napkin from Los Pollos Hermanos, and it has a part number or some kind of code scribbled on it.
Now, why is this significant? A napkin from a chicken place. Who cares, right? People eat chicken.
Because of the contradiction. Hank knows Gale was a strict vegan.
Right. The Wikipedia source makes a real point of this. Gale was very, very particular about his diet. No animal products. He brewed his own incredibly complex coffee to perfection. He certainly wasn't eating fried chicken skins.
So the question immediately arises for Hank. Why would a strict vegan be hanging out at a fried chicken restaurant? Why would he have a napkin from Los Pollos Hermanos sitting in his apartment?
It doesn't add up.
Not unless he wasn't there for the food. Unless he was meeting someone.
And just like that, the arrow points away from Gale and directly toward the owner of Los Pollos Hermanos.
Gus Fring.
This is the moment. This is the turning point of the entire war between Hank and Gus. Before this exact moment, Gus was just a booster for the DEA fun run. He was a legitimate businessman. He was the friendly guy bringing chicken to the office for the agents.
And now, he's a suspect. And it is entirely Walt's fault. We really need to emphasize this expert insight from the source. If Walt had just stayed quiet at dinner, the investigation would have ended. Hank was done. He was moving on. Walt's ego is the sole reason the heat turns back on.
It's incredible. He valued the credit for his art more than his own safety, more than his family's safety. He literally chose fame, anonymous fame, but fame nonetheless over survival.
It connects perfectly back to the provocative thought we need to explore a bit later. Walt tearing himself down by insisting on the truth, while Gus builds Jesse up using a lie. It's a perfect thematic inversion. Walt destroys his safety with truth. Gus builds loyalty with fiction.
It's a fantastic thematic mirror. So we have the plot mechanics laid out. Jesse's a hero, Walt is a liability, and Hank is back on the hunt. But now, let's shift gears to segment 4. Let's talk about how this episode was actually received by the world when it aired.
This is where things get surprisingly spicy. You would think an episode with this much character development, this much incredible psychological warfare, would be an absolute slam dunk with everyone.
But the scorecard is kind of all over the place.
Wildly mixed reviews. Let's look at the positive side first. Matt Richenthal from TV Fanatic, he loved it.
4.5 out of 5 stars. That's a glowing review by any metric.
He clearly appreciated the psychological depth, the road trip dynamic, the tension. He saw what the writers were doing with the Jesse and Mike relationship. He understood that the boring parts of the drive were necessary to sell the exciting part.
Then you have Donna Bowman from the AV Club. And for those who don't know or don't remember, the AV Club reviews for Breaking Bad were legendary at the time. They were the absolute gold standard of recaps.
She gave it a B+ better, which is solid. Not Ozymandias level praise, not an A, but a good, sturdy grade. She recognized the quality. She likely praised the visuals from McLaren and Craig in the acting.
Well, then we get to IGN.
Seth Emmington at IGN. This is the outlier. This is the one that really makes you scratch your head.
He gave it a 7.5 out of 10.
Now listen, 7.5 doesn't sound terrible on paper. If I got a 7.5 on a math test, I'd probably be grounded. But in video game review terms, or TV review terms, it's good. But in the specific context of Breaking Bad...
The source notes this is highly significant. It is the lowest score for any episode in the entire series from IGN.
Let that sink in for a minute. The episode Fly usually gets all the hate from fans. Fly is the famously polarizing bottle episode, but Shotgun. This episode got the lowest score from this critic. It is the only episode to score less than an 8 on IGN.
That is genuinely shocking to me. Why? Why the low score?
We can speculate based on the plot points. Maybe it felt too much like a setup episode, just moving pieces around the chessboard to get ready for the finale.
Maybe. The road trip is a bit repetitive by design. It's supposed to be boring until it suddenly isn't. Maybe the lack of a massive explosion or a major character death made it feel slower.
Possibly. You have to remember, critics at the time were watching week to week. They didn't have the benefit of knowing what comes next. They might have felt the Mike and Jesse storyline was just dragging, but looking back, I think that score has aged pretty poorly. Because when you look at the retrospective ranking...
The Ringer did a massive ranking in 2019, this is years later, with the full benefit of hindsight.
They ranked all 62 episodes, and where did Shotgun land?
60th out of 62.
That is bottom tier, second to last.
That is wild, because we just spent, 40 minutes discussing how pivotal the dinner scene is? Without this episode, the show literally stops.
Exactly. I think critics might have found the ride-along A-plot a bit thin on a first watch, but structurally, this episode does incredibly heavy lifting. It's the engine room of the season.
Without this episode, Hank doesn't find the napkin. If Hank doesn't find the napkin, he doesn't find Gus. If he doesn't find Gus, the rest of the series just doesn't happen. Walt just keeps cooking and gets rich and retires.
Precisely. It's a foundational episode. It might not be the most visually thrilling hour of television compared to something like Face Off or Crawl Space, but it is the fulcrum upon which the entire season pivots. It's the domino that knocks down all the other dominoes.
And it does it through character flows, not just random chance. It's Walt's fatal flaw that drives the plot forward. It's not a coincidence, it's character.
Which is the absolute hallmark of great writing. It feels inevitable, yet surprising.
So we've covered the ride, the voicemail, the wine, and the reviews. Let's head to the outro and try to wrap our heads around the big picture here.
Let's do it. Let's synthesize everything we've talked about.
If we look at the final scoreboard at the end of Shotgun, it's a really strange sight.
Jesse Pinkman finds a new purpose. He feels valuable. He feels capable. But it is entirely based on manipulation. It's a hologram of success. He's loyal to a man who is playing him like a fiddle. He's happier, but he's more controlled than he's ever been.
And Walter White.
Walter jeopardizes everything. He has the money laundering set up. He has his wife softening toward him. He has the DEA investigation closed. And he throws a live grenade into all of it just because of pride. He is less happy and significantly less safe.
And the result of that grenade is that the investigation into Gus Fring begins in earnest. The sleeping giant of the DEA has been poked awake.
And it raises that final provocative thought we promised at the beginning.
Let's hear it.
Consider the parallel we've been tracking throughout this deep dive. Gus Fring is a master manipulator. He builds Jesse up by staging a lie. He understands that morale matters, that loyalty matters, even if it's based on total fiction. He uses a theatrical performance, the fake robbery, to create a real asset.
Competence versus obedience.
Exactly. Gus values obedience and loyalty over raw competence. He can teach competence. He can teach you how to do a dead drop. He can't teach loyalty. He needs a soldier.
And Walt.
Walt tears himself down by insisting on the truth. He is obsessed with his own competence, his own genius. He cannot stand a lie, even if that lie is the exact thing that saves his life.
So the real question for you, the listener, to mull over is this. In this criminal underworld, is competence actually a liability compared to obedience? Is being the genius actually a death sentence?
And does Walt's need for credit outweigh his instinct for survival? Based on this episode alone, the answer seems to be a resounding yes. He would rather be known as the genius who got caught than the unknown amateur who got away.
That is a terrifying thought.
Yeah.
That his ego is actually stronger than his basic self-preservation instinct. And it's one that will haunt him for the rest of the series.
Indeed, it's the classic tragic flaw.
Well, that is all the time we have for this deep dive. Thank you for riding shotgun with us through this episode. We hope you didn't mind the detour.
Drive safe. And, watch out for anyone approaching the car.
We'll see you next time.